My dad is having an affair with someone who is my age, trigger warnings, adultery, grooming, pedophilia, predatory behavior, emotional abuse. My dad, 49M, and my mum, 47F, have been married 20 years. They have me, 21M, and my younger sibling. Don't want to get into siblings' age/gender as they don't know anything about this. They're younger though. Sibling was diagnosed with cancer 8 years ago and it was a big journey to make sure that sibling got through it. It took a big toll on the whole family. My mum gave up her job to look after sibling full time. It was over 2 years of back and forth. But we got lucky, sibling is thriving now. My dad has a high-powered job and always worked a lot but he always made it home for dinner. But then about a year into sibling's treatment, he started working late or going to golf club a night a week. Then over time it was 2 nights and for the past few years it's been half the week. It was always sort of clear that sibling's illness didn't exactly bring our parents together. My mum got totally into that and TBH she wasn't always very present for me emotionally but sibling was so unwell that I just kind of got it. She's been great ever since. I asked my mum a few years ago if she and dad were happy and she said that marriage is more than just romance and rainbows and that they had a life together. Which didn't really answer my question, or maybe it did. About a year ago I finally twigged that my dad was having an affair and it had been going on for a while. Basically I found a document that indicated that he rents a flat on the other side of town. There was just this moment when I realized and my mum saw it kind of sink in and she just shook her head and I didn't say anything. 2 days ago I found out who his mistress was. It's a girl who was in my class at school. Izzy actually used to go out with my best friend from ages 14 to 16. My friend was distraught when she broke up with him. It seems like she did this because she had met my dad. He rented a flat and they've been having an affair for 5 years. I confronted my dad and he just told me that it was none of my business, that his relationship with my mother had evolved when sibling got sick, and that his sexual needs had upgraded and that Izzy can meet them in a way that my mother cannot. WTF? He said, and my mother confirmed that he told my mum that he was planning to have an affair with Izzy before it started, and that ground rules were set so that Izzy couldn't come to our house, and that he would still be home X number of nights a week and that no more than £X would be spent on Izzy. My mother gave her permission and that's been the situation ever since. My mother just said she didn't want to discuss it and that relationships change over time. My dad said that he would go and stay in his flat for the rest of the week while I cooled off, but that he would come back on Monday and that we wouldn't be talking about it again. I've been living at home during the pandemic as my university has been shut and I haven't exactly got anywhere else to go. Plus my mum doesn't want me to go. And sibling is still in school and doesn't know anything about this. I'm physically kind of nauseous about this whole thing and I don't want anyone to know. My dad is just a total creep. I hadn't spoken to Izzy in a long time but I remember her as really quiet and very clever. She is also very beautiful. Her parents had a very messy divorce during the last couple of years at school and I remember her being very upset about it. I can't believe that she's put in 5 years of her life into this. My friend really loved her. He spent a good 2 years trying to win her back. I don't know what to do. I need a roof over my head but I don't want to look at my dad's smug face again. I hate how my mother can't meet my eye. I feel like sibling knows something's up and I don't want to lie. It's like the house I thought was made of bricks was just made out of straw, but I don't know if I have spine to blow the whole thing down. Update 1. To the people who said that my dad is a cool dude is who killing it, and that I was jealous, I suggest seeking therapy for your tortured self-esteem issues. To the people who said that it was an open marriage/a fetish for my mother too, nah. I get that polygamy may be a good thing for some people, but I think that's often about one person being selfish at the expense of the feelings of their partner. It has become very clear that this has been what is happening here. In the end, sibling found out what was happening. I told her that I posted and she said thank you for protecting her privacy, but she was fine with people knowing her age/gender. So yeah. She's a girl and she's a teenager. I realized that my instinct is to protect her from back when she was ill, but she's actually one of the strongest and resilient people that I know and she doesn't really need it. When dad came home, sibling and I confronted him again. He was a bit freaked out that sibling now knew too. He explained it all again. He met Izzy and became transfixed by her, barf, and so he told her that he would like to start a relationship. He said that he started by meeting Izzy for coffee to work out ground rules with her and that he also worked out ground rules with my mother, but when sibling pushed he admitted that he had told my mother that he would want a divorce if she stood in the way. It really does sound like the freaking weirdest adultery that I have ever heard of. Not that I have actually ever met anyone else who cheated. During the time that he and Izzy were talking, dad found a flat and furnished it for their meetings. Given that over time dad has been increasingly absent, sibling pushed again for an explanation and he said it started off one evening a week after which he dropped Izzy back at her parents', but over time they started staying over together for special occasions, and then every week until where we are now, where he's been here half the week and the other half with her. He also said that the flat they use now is not the same one they started out with, because it's now one that Izzy lives in full-time while the one they had for the first few years was just a bedsit. He finally admitted that he has consistently gone over the budget that he agreed to my mother that he would be spending on his affair. Sibling told him that she wasn't happy staying under his roof anymore and packed up to go stay with her boyfriend. She told our mom that she loves her and will be back when dad is gone. My mother kind of freaked out and asked her not to go, but sibling just said again that she wants nothing to do with our father, and she took her case and walked out the door. I ended up confessing all to the girl I've been seeing for a few weeks, and I fled there too. I was really hesitant as my situation is extremely new, and I hadn't wanted to give her the impression that I'm some gross guy like my dad. She turned out to be very understanding, but I've promised that this is a very short-term fix. A friend of the girl I'm seeing apparently has a room coming free in his house share, and I'm about 95% sure I'll be moving there at the start of May. Affording it may be tricky, but I will make it work. Back at the homestead, sibling has also been in touch with our maternal uncle, who I think is stepping in to lay down the law to my mom that she needs to kickstart a divorce because this situation is utterly unacceptable. If we were in America, dad would have liable for criminal charges. I worried about burning down the house, but the house was already very much on fire. My parents will be separating even if people who love my mother have to step in directly. Someone commented about boiling frog syndrome, and I think my mother is very much a little boiled frog. But I am very hopeful that we can extricate her from this situation to a more positive way of being, and ultimately I drafted a text message to Izzy as I think I have her number stored on my phone. Thoughts on whether it would be wise to send would be appreciated. Hi Izzy, my name. My dad's probably told you that the family are now all aware about your involvement with him. I just want to make clear that we bear no ill will towards you personally and that we wish you a brighter tomorrow. My dad's selfishness should not dictate your destiny, and I hope you find your way to a future that does not include him. Final update, it's been a weird couple of weeks. My sibling is now planning to move back in with mom's sister, will also be bringing her BF with her. So strange. I was literally banned from going on holiday with my then GF at that age, but I think she's just being the youngest child who sets her own rules, and that's fine. Anyway, this is all happening as our father has now left for good. I think I'm staying moved out, as I think at 21 I just don't want to be living in my childhood bedroom. But I will be visiting home fairly frequently. My girlfriend has now met mother and sister, and although that felt quite out of the blue, it was nice and felt like we, mom, sibling, and myself, are going to come through as a family after all of this. No idea what's going on with Izzy, but going to keep message in draft for another couple of weeks till the dust settles, but then probably send it. I just want to explain that I'm not going to post or update after this because Reddit is weird. Like really strange. So many comments telling me to contact Izzy's parents no matter how many times I said they were a train wreck. So many messages telling me that I'm a virgin who's jealous of my dad, including a few that were weirdly threatening. So bizarre having strangers screech down the internet at me for not minding my own business. When my mother has been subject to coercive control for years. My mother broke down in tears about how trapped my father had left her feeling and that she didn't know how to get out. My uncle told me privately that he has got some serious Sally Challen vibes here, and we are just grateful to have caught on to what was happening before my father pushed my mother too far. So apologies to the sane 95% who have been wonderful, including those who expressed concern that we were taking over and making decisions for my mother, because that is a valid opinion and one we do need to consider. You are all wonderful and compassionate humans. But I'm not scared of the remaining 5% sitting there with their shriveled D's in hand, whacking off to the idea of a man in his late 40s screwing a vulnerable barely 16-year-old. Really makes me as a bloke realize the insidiousness of the patriarchy and how it salivates over situations where women have been oppressed. Anyway, I'm off. All best to most of you, but to those who get their kicks via coercion, get help.